Okay, welcome everyone to a deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're looking into a framework from our source material. It's called the Djehuti Key.
Right, and it's presented really as a pathway to, well, spiritual understanding and healing, too, for what the source calls a fractured world.
A fractured world, yeah. And the core idea seems to be about integration.
Exactly. It's proposing we synthesize ancient wisdom, Hermetic, Egyptian, Judeo-Christian strands, and bring that together with more modern insights. It's all about connection.
And the figurehead for this, according to the source, is Djehuti, also known as Thoth or Hermes.
That's the one, the ancient master of wisdom, and his whole focus, is integration.
Got it. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. Pull out the key insights.
Right. Understand the diagnosis it offers, the path forward it suggests, and the overall vision.
Okay, let's jump right into that diagnosis.
Yeah.
The source uses a pretty striking archetype, King Saul from the Bible.
Yeah, it's interesting how it uses Saul, that story of insecurity, fear, leading to division. It uses that as a kind of lens.
A lens for modern crises.
Exactly. It calls this the Saul consciousness.
And the source material actually connects this spirit of Saul, as it terms it, to specific things happening now.
It does. It points to what it calls the politics of ego.
Which leads to...
Well, the source argues it leads to that us versus them mentality, loyalty to personalities over maybe truth or principles. The text even gives examples like, public clashes between figures it sees as having these ego-driven alliances, mentioning Trump and Musk specifically.
Okay, important note, that's the source's framing.
Absolutely, and it also mentions policies it calls divisive concepts as stemming from the same consciousness. Again, strictly the source's interpretation.
And this view extends beyond domestic politics.
Oh yeah, it looks at global conflicts too. The source frames Russia's actions against Ukraine, for instance, as a kind of war fueled by historical grievance and ego.
A choice for division in its view.
That's how it's presented, yeah. Division over wisdom. And it also holds up the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as an unhealed wound.
Seeing it as this Saul archetype playing out.
On both sides, according to the source. Driven by fear, competing narratives, deep-seated issues.
So the source's main point isn't just that these are bad events.
Right. It's arguing they're almost predictable outcomes when consciousness is operating from that place of fear, of division.
Okay, so if that's the diagnosis, the problem.
Yeah.
What's the proposed solution? What's the path forward?
It calls for a pretty big shift. A revolution in consciousness is the term used.
And there's another archetype for this transformation.
Yes, the shift from Saul of Tarsus, the rigid persecutor, to the Apostle Paul, representing, a move towards universal love.
And how does that shift actually happen according to this framework? It mentions something called the snake power.
Intriguing, right. It's an allusion, it seems, to Kundalini energy concepts. The source describes it as this dormant spiritual energy, like a coiled serpent within us. And activating it is presented as key to liberation, intuition, realizing unity.
So it's not just changing your mind, it's something deeper, like aligning with some fundamental principles.
Yeah.
The source mentions the science of the soul.
Exactly. It weaves in concepts like Ma'at, the Egyptian idea of cosmic order, truth, balance.
Implying chaos comes from breaking that order.
That seems to be the connection, yeah. And it references the Merkabah from Jewish mysticism as a symbol for integrated consciousness. And that Hermetic principle, as above, so below.
Meaning our inner state reflects our outer reality.
That's the idea. What's inside mirrors what's outside, and vice versa.
The framework also uses a really unique symbol for the divine. El Rai Isis.
Yeah, and it's crucial to understand, as the source explains it, this isn't proposing a new god.
Right.
It's a symbol for an integrated divine will. It pulls together El for Abrahamic roots, covenant, Ra for universal consciousness, the sun, and Isis for healing, magic, unification.
So using familiar symbols to point towards a more unified concept.
Precisely.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, where does this leave us? What's the call to action?
It boils down to becoming artists of reality, living out love and art from faith.
So using creativity as a spiritual practice.
In the broadest sense, yes. Your work, how you relate to people, community stuff. Seeing it all as a way to practice connection and healing. The source even mentions a specific meditative practice.
That's colors.
Yeah, using green emerald, blue ocean, red hearts as ways to center yourself and align with that inner intention.
So fundamentally, this Djehuti Key framework, as laid out in the source, is saying the outer divisions we see, healing them, starts within.
That's the core message. An inward journey of integration, of transformation to address the external fractures.
And it suggests ancient wisdom and, interestingly, creative expression are tools for that.
Powerful tools, potentially. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does it mean for you, listening now, to actively shift consciousness when the world feels so divided?
And connecting back to that as above, so below idea, if our external world really does reflect our internal state,
It poses a challenging question.
yeah, if that holds true, what's maybe one small internal shift, just one conscious adjustment inside yourself that can begin to ripple outwards? Maybe start to heal some division you perceive, either personally or out in the world.
Something definitely worth considering.